What if I told you that market sentiment alone, just fear and greed, could have you make over 7,547% ROI starting with just a $100 investment? Now, market sentiment, it isn't anything new. You've probably seen this 1,000 times already. This is the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. It's been around for like forever now in the cryptocurrency. You can see just recently it's been in extreme fear just yesterday and over the last week. And that's what really got me into the idea of, could we actually use this as part of one of our Mutra Ninja trading automated strategies, so that we could actually use the market sentiment part to predict basically if it is a leading indicator, if it can predict what Bitcoin's going to do or other cryptocurrencies. Is this going to be useful? So I downloaded all of that data from their API, as well as for Bitcoin, Cardano, a bunch of other cryptocurrencies. And we've got some charts like this. So the red bit here that you can see, this is the Fear and Greed Index, and the blue is the price of Bitcoin. Interesting point here is the fact that the Fear and Greed tops out maybe just a few months before we got a top in the Bitcoin market. And again, here you can see that it's going up. It's not exactly topping out before we got to that all-time high there at the top of the last bull market. And again, here we can see that it's topped out just before we've got a top there. And then it comes all the way back down where you could possibly buy it in before it comes up, tops out again. You're going to be selling off up here. And then as we've hit all the way down here at the bottom, we can see the price has again dropped back down. So could we use this? Would this actually work? So it's a little bit hard to tell on the chart because we've got like 7 years of data crammed into that little screen that you can see there on the chart. So we've got all the numbers here, and we can find out once and for all if this is going to work. So what we're going to do here in this table is basically work out, this is the Fear and Greed Index, what it is in like a number each day. And then over here we've got the class. So extreme fear is basically anything which is 25 or under, and then like 75 or above will be extreme greed. And what we want to do first of all is work out whether or not there's really any correlation between the two, and if it is leading or lagging the actual Bitcoin price. So what I've done here is basically, this one shows if it is less than the previous day, and this one here for Bitcoin, whether or not it is less than the previous day. And of course we can see it right here, it's not, and there we go, it's false. And then if there's a difference between the two, or are they the same? So we've got a 1 if it's the same, and a 0 if it's false. And then at the end, we're going to basically add all of these 1s and 0s up to tell whether or not it is correlated or not, if we've got an edge on the market. So as we come all the way here to the bottom, we can see it's 49%. It's basically a coin flip each day, whether or not one's going to go up against the other. It doesn't really seem to matter. So I checked it to see if what happens if it's the day before. So does the Bitcoin price, is it affected by the previous day's Fear and Greed Index and the market sentiment before? And I found it's about the same. It's about 50-50. But if we go to the opposite way around, so what we're looking at now is we're looking at the sort of like yesterday's price move for Bitcoin and how that affects today's Fear and Greed Index. So as we scroll all the way down to the bottom now, what we can see beyond any shadow of a doubt is in fact that it's 70% of the time the Fear and Greed Index will match the previous day's Bitcoin price action. So if Bitcoin goes up or if Bitcoin goes down, the market sentiment is also going to go up or down based on yesterday's price move, which is the complete opposite of what we want. It means that the Bitcoin price is actually a leading indicator for the Fear and Greed Index, not the other way around, which would have been a lot more useful. But of course, we're doing this on all of the data, so all the extreme fears and everything else. So I thought to myself, what would happen if we only traded the extreme fear and the extreme greed? Okay, so let me explain what's going on this spreadsheet here. I know there's a lot of numbers and it might look a bit confusing. We got the same as we got before. So we got the class and the Fear and Greed Index, what it is in the monetary form. Then we've got the Bitcoin price each day of what the Bitcoin price was at the time. And then we've got whether or not we're going to invest $100. So if it's extreme fear, every time we've got a day where it's the fear and greed is saying it's extreme fear, we're going to invest $100. Okay, and what's going to happen if we've got extreme greed is we are going to sell 5% of whatever we've got here in the balance. So this column down here is basically the running balance. It starts off at 0, and then as we're buying in, you can see it's getting calculated there. Now over to the side, we've got it in US dollar form, so how much we've invested in US dollars, and also what it is that we've taken out, again in US dollars, so that we're going to know by the time we get to the bottom of this 7 years worth of data. So this is from November 2018, so about 7 years of data. We can see that we've invested in total, this is over 2 market cycles, okay, we've invested $12,250 worth, but obviously that's not all in one go. This is just, you're going to put some in and then you're going to get some out and then you're going to put it back in again, as the fear and greed changes over the years. So it doesn't mean that you need that much to start off with, but we've made 62,000 out of that. So that's actually a 406% gain. One thing though is we're not doing this all of the time. So you can see here at the side, I've got the dates in yellow, and we've got the dates in green, the dates in grey, and so on all the way up. So coming over here to my Bitcoin chart, this is how you can see the macros for Bitcoin. Okay, so basically we're in the yellow phase right now. This is the euphoria phase. This is where the Bitcoin goes up to the next all-time high. And before that, we were in the venture phase. So this is the phase leading up to the Bitcoin halving. Okay, so during this phase, this green phase, we're not selling. So you might have noticed on the chart, probably not, but we're not actually selling those extreme greed during those phases, because this is the growth phase. We're only going to sell off in this final euphoria phase here. Also, these red phases where the market comes down, this is what I call the fantasy phase, where everybody fantasizes the market's going to go back up and it's different this time and all this usual sort of stuff people say. It's going to go down for a set amount of time as part of the normal 4-yearly Bitcoin halving. So we don't actually start buying it until we get into this gray phase. This is the apathy phase. Okay, so when the markets reach this sort of apathy point, that's where we start buying, and we'll buy through that phase, but we only sell in this period. And as we get to the end of the yellow period, okay, so in the last few weeks, at some point in the last few weeks of this, once you hit that extreme greed, you're just going to cash out completely. And of course, this has gone on for like forever since Bitcoin began. So as we come back here, what you're going to notice, we've got the green phase. So this is the green phase where I'm saying that we're not actually selling. Okay, that's extreme fear anyway. And then we get to extreme greed here eventually. And as we come down to the end of the yellow phase, we've got no red phase because I just deleted those years, all of the data for that anyway. And what I've done here, you notice, is we've suddenly drawn out from 5%, 5%, 5% that we were drawing out, and then at the end, I just basically took everything out at that point. So Bitcoin, you can see we've made 400%. If we go to Cardano, you can see again, it's made 478%. Ethereum has done 440, and if we go to Litecoin only did 209%, which is pretty poor, particularly for 7 years. It's pretty bad. Solana done over 1,000%. That's 1,162% for Solana. Tron, same thing there, pretty poor, 264. And then Stellar Lumens, again, a poor 233. So as you can see, realistically for cryptocurrency, those are not particularly exciting gains. Over a 7-year period, we could have done a lot better. One thing to notice here though is on these charts, you can see that as we got to the end of the previous bull run, everything was really, really good until we cashed out completely. And as we're only putting in the $100 there at the end, it's just not enough to sort of rebuy what we had previously in the cryptocurrencies. And it doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin at 100 grand like it is now, or if it's Cardano, Ethereum, Litecoin, none of these you could actually buy back your previous stake with a mere $100. You'll see Solana is a bit different. That's because we don't have the full price data set for Solana. So what we can see here with this one little pump and then a long one, basically the data set, the dates only go back about this far. So we've only got this much. So yeah, it's going to be a much smaller data set on that. That said, even with that small data set, which is basically just this current halving now, we've still got 1,162% gains for Solana. So Solana just completely outperformed everything. Now, of course, with these types of odds, there's no way that we're going to be putting it into something like this and bothering to make it into a trading strategy because the gains just aren't really there. The real question is, can we beat the market simply using the market sentiment, so the times of extreme fear and extreme greed, combined with the 4-yearly cycle and what we know of that? So basically we're selling off here where we're nearing the top and we're getting into that extreme greed period, and then we're just buying in somewhere at an extreme fear period during this low point, and then we just hold it all the way up to the last few weeks, and once we get to extreme greed we sell it off. Would that be a better strategy? So is this whole market sentiment in and out all the time, is it going to be better than just buying in once and selling once? Rather than putting in $100 at a time, if we go all the way down and count all of these up, you can see it comes to $5,000. So rather than putting in $100 at a time, we're just going to put in $5,000 here on day one, okay? And we're going to hold that $5,000 all the way down until we get to the end of the yellow phase, which is the euphoric phase over here. So this is where we cash out, and that is again where we're going to cash out that money that we put in. And then as we get to the beginning of the next cycle, we just put in another $5,000 and then cash it out. Now, in fact, in reality, we wouldn't cash it out now. We'd wait to the end of the cycle. But if we did do that, we've went from 406 ROI all the way to 1,516. You can see right here, it is already better just for Bitcoin to buy the low somewhere in this zone here, easily timed, just using the Bitcoin halving cycle, the 4-yearly cycle. You can easily time this. You just buy somewhere in this period here at an extreme low, and then as we get to extreme greed, you're going to sell it off somewhere in the last like 3 or 4 weeks of the euphoric phase around here. Now, if we just look at all of them here and just put these in order for gains, you can see Solana's at the top there. That made 7,547. Then you got Cardano here, made 3,700 rather than just the 478. So you can see all of them far surpassed what you would get from actually trying to sort of day trade, or at least sort of a swing trade those coins individually. So rather than trading, this is actually more of an investment because you're holding for, you know, a couple of years essentially. But the investment certainly does pay off because you're going to get much better returns on that. The other thing we can tell from this is that some of these have underperformed Bitcoin, so you'd have been better off with Bitcoin, but some of the newer coins and more sort of the useful coins, so this is like Ethereum, Cardano and Solana, you know, Cardano and Solana being sort of copies of the use case of Ethereum, all of which have surpassed what you would have got from Bitcoin. So definitely maybe look at those alts as part of, you know, it's going to give you much better returns over time than Bitcoin. I do hope that this video has been in some way useful. If you're interested in quantitative analysis, maybe check out Anton Kreil's Institute of Trading and Portfolio Managers. I've got a link down here you can get in. It is a couple of grand, but it's much cheaper than a university degree, and they're going to teach you the sort of stuff which you're going to do in institutional level trading for real banks and proper institutions, you know, like Goldman Sachs and all of that. And it will absolutely improve your trading, improve your profitability. It's a fantastic course. And I know if you're going to lay out a couple of grand, it's a bit much if you've only got a couple of grand in your trading account. But if you are at the point where you're getting like maybe 100K or more, then definitely worth doing. In fact, probably if you've even got like sort of 30 to 50 grand in your account is well worth doing. And of course, I've got a link there down below in the description. You're going to get like 20 to 40% off depending on your membership with Mutual Ninja. You'll get either 20 to 40% off. Even if you're not a member at all, you'll get 20. So anyway, that's it for this video. Do let me know in the comments down below your thoughts, what your plans are, your strategies. Maybe I'll look into them. So if you've got any strategies you want looking into, let me know. Let me know down in those comments, and I really do look forward to seeing you again in the next video.